October 30th, 1942, Eastern Mediterranean. 1:30 a.m. Two British sailors are about to climb into a German submarine that is already sinking. They have only minutes before it vanishes beneath the Mediterranean. Neither will come back. Yet, what they carry out of that submarine will help change the Battle of the Atlantic and save countless lives they will never know. First, they have to beat the sea. For nearly 6 hours, 4 Royal Navy warships have hunted a single German U-boat through the darkness north of Port Said. Again and again, depth charges hammer the water below. The sea does not roar, it shudders. 62 charges, nearly 4 tons of explosives. Steel bends, rivets snap. Inside the submarine, lights flicker as the hull groans under crushing pressure. Then the black water erupts. U-559 bursts to the surface, not victorious. Broken, smoke pours from the conning tower. Seawater floods damaged compartments. Its commander, Captain Lieutenant Hans Heitmann, knows the fight is over. But one thing cannot happen. The submarine must not fall into British hands. He orders the abandonment of the ship. German sailors open the sea valves. Flooding begins at once. The submarine has become a steel stopwatch. Every second now belongs to the sea. Searchlights from Spatard lock onto the crippled U-boat. German sailors throw themselves into the cold water. From the destroyer's deck, most British sailors see the end of a battle. One officer sees an opportunity. Get aboard that submarine. Bring back anything with writing on it. Lieutenant Tony Fasson dives first. Able seaman Colin Grazier follows. 16-year-old Tommy Brown scrambles into a whaler behind them. Ahead lies a flooding submarine. Behind them, the Royal Navy can only watch. And somewhere inside that sinking steel coffin lies something worth dying to protect. Within minutes, history will change. As Tony Fasson disappears beneath the waves, another battle comes into focus. Not a battle with guns, a battle with signals. 9 months earlier, in February 1942, the German Navy introduced a new Enigma system for its U-boats. To the Germans, it was Triton. To the British, Shark. Almost overnight, the German naval traffic the Allies had been reading went silent. For nearly 2 years, codebreakers at Bletchley Park had been reading enough enemy signals to reroute convoys away from danger. A convoy would alter course by a few miles. A wolf pack would arrive expecting slaughter and find empty ocean. Then, Shark arrived, and the warnings stopped. Inside Hut 8 at Bletchley Park, the atmosphere changed fast. Messages kept coming. The problem was no longer intercepting them. It was reading them. Each signal became a locked door. The methods that had once worked now produced nothing. Day after day, week after week. Failure, out on the Atlantic, the consequences were immediate. A convoy would sail beneath a calm horizon. Minutes later, torpedoes would tear into it. Freighters burned. Survivors clung to wreckage in freezing water. U-boats slipped back beneath the surface. The convoy had sailed into a trap because no one could warn it anymore. Churchill later said the U-boat campaign was the one thing that truly frightened him during the war. Not because Germany ruled the seas, but because Britain depended on them. Food, fuel, aircraft parts, ammunition. If the convoys stopped, Britain starved. At Bletchley Park, Alan Turing, Hugh Alexander, and the men and women of Hut 8 attacked Shark from every angle. Hours became days. Days became months. The machines never stopped. Neither did the people. But mathematics alone was not enough. Without captured code material, a starting point, a crib, the 4-rotor naval cipher remained out of reach. By the autumn of 1942, a hard truth had settled in. The next breakthrough would not come from an equation. It would come from the sea. And at that very moment, 2 sailors were swimming toward the one submarine that might still be carrying it. As U-559 settles lower, the race has already begun. Every wave over the deck means less time inside. Every second means more water rushing toward the documents the Germans are trying to destroy. 4 ordinary men are now on a collision course with history. Lieutenant Tony Fasson, 29, is a career naval officer. He has seen war before. His shipmates know him as steady under pressure, a man who never asks others to do what he would not do himself. No one orders him into the water. He goes because someone has to go first. A few steps behind him is able seaman Colin Grazier, 22, the son of a miner from 2 Gates. Only months earlier, he had married and promised his wife they would build a life after the war. Now he watches Fasson dive into the black Mediterranean. There is no speech, no farewell. He follows. In the whaler is Tommy Brown, 16 years old, a NAFI canteen assistant, not a combat sailor. He lied about his age to join the Navy. Tonight, it does not matter. If documents come out of that submarine, someone must carry them back. Across the dark water, Hans Heitmann makes his own final calculation. His submarine cannot be saved. Its secrets still might be. Sea valves are open. Flooding is deliberate. Every compartment filling with water is another barrier between British hands and German code material. As his crew slips into the sea, they leave behind more than a sinking boat. They leave behind a race. Britain is trying to get in. The Mediterranean is trying to pull the submarine under. Aboard Ms. Petard, sailors lean over the rails in silence. No rescue plan exists once the men go below. If the U-boat sinks, it becomes their grave. No one knows exactly what they are risking their lives to recover. Only that the Germans considered it worth destroying their own submarine to protect. Fasson reaches U-559 first. He grips the wet steel, glances once toward Petard, and disappears through the open hatch into a submarine that is already dying. The moment Tony Fasson drops through U-559's hatch, the world changes. The warm night air disappears. Inside, the submarine is dark, cramped, and alive with terrible sounds. Steel groans. Water hisses through open valves. Somewhere below, seawater begins reaching the electrical systems. The submarine is not waiting to sink. It is sinking now. Colin Grazier drops in behind him. Above them, Tommy Brown waits at the hatch, ready to receive anything they can find. No one wastes words. Every second inside is borrowed. The passageways are nearly empty. Coffee mugs still sit where they were left. A chart lies open on a table. Blankets are scattered across bunks. The crew is gone, but the submarine still feels occupied as if its sailors have only just stepped away. Instead, only the sea is coming. Outside, sailors on Petard watch in silence. The boat already seems lower in the water. No one knows exactly what the boarding party is searching for. Everyone can see the sea climbing higher up the hull. Inside the captain's cabin, Fasson searches drawers, shelves, and lockers. Nothing important is left in plain sight. The Germans had prepared for this. Then Fasson spots a ring of keys. One key fails, another failure. Finally, a drawer opens. Inside are 2 thin booklets on fragile paper. No gold, no weapons, no blueprints, just paper. But it is paper the Germans had tried desperately to keep out of Allied hands. One booklet is the Wetterkirchschildsel, the short weather cipher. The other is the Kurzsignalheft, the short signal book used by U-boats to send compressed reports. Fasson and Grazier do not know those names. They do not need to. Their orders were simple: bring back anything with writing on it. Brown reaches down through the hatch. One bundle at a time, books and papers come up. He clutches them to his chest, scrambles onto the conning tower, passes them to the whaler, and climbs back again. Again and again. Years later, historians would see those short trips up and down the ladder as some of the most valuable journeys of the war. At the time, they were simply trying to outrun the sea. Then the submarine shudders, not from enemy fire, from flooding. A metallic groan rolls through the hull. Water surges faster along the deck plates. The angle under their feet shifts. The stern is going down. Fast, Brown looks into the hatch. The water is already rising past the ankles, then shins, still climbing. He shouts into the darkness, "You've got to come up." No reply. Inside the cabin, Fasson keeps searching. If there are 2 codebooks, there may be more. Every extra document could matter. Every extra second could save a convoy somewhere in the Atlantic or doom the men already inside. Grazier gathers another armful of papers. Fasson thrusts them upward. "Take these." Brown carries them up. The documents reach the whaler. Safe, the men who found them do not. From Petard, sailors can now see the submarine settling rapidly. Water washes across the deck. The bow begins to rise. Someone shouts for the boarding party to get out. The warning comes too late. Brown drops through the hatch one final time. Inside, the water is waist-deep. Cold, black, he can barely see Fasson and Grazier in the dim emergency light. He yells again, louder, "She's going." Fasson does not answer. He pushes one final bundle into Brown's arms. It is the last thing he will ever hand to another human being. Brown turns, climbs, breaks into the night air, and U-559 lurches violently. For a moment, the submarine seems to pause. Then the sea wins. The stern plunges. The bow rears up. Brown loses his grip. The boat drops beneath him. He is dragged underwater in a whirl of steel, bubbles, and darkness. He kicks upward and breaks the surface. Behind him, U-559 is gone. Tony Fasson and Colin Grazier never came back. The submarine takes them into the depths. But it does not take the documents. Inside the whaler, under the searchlights of Petard, lie 2 soaked booklets. Within weeks, they will begin unlocking messages the Germans believed no enemy would ever read, and with them, the balance of the Atlantic War will begin to shift. By sunrise, U-559 is gone. So are Tony Fasson and Colin Grazier. Only Tommy Brown survives the boarding party, cold, exhausted, and clutching papers no one aboard Petard fully understands. At first glance, they hardly seem worth 2 lives. The covers are stained, the pages are warped, the red ink is already bleeding. To almost anyone else, they look ruined. The documents begin a quiet journey, from Petard to Alexandria, from Alexandria to Britain. Eventually, they reach Bletchley Park, the one place where someone might understand what had been pulled from that sinking submarine. But when the books arrive, they do not trigger celebration. They trigger doubt. Bletchley's codebreakers had seen captured German material before. Earlier seizures from ships like München and submarines like U-110 had brought breakthroughs, but only temporary ones. Germany had always changed its settings. Many feared these damaged booklets would be another dead end. They were logged, examined, set aside. For a brief moment, the mission that had cost 2 lives seemed in danger of being dismissed. Then someone recognized what the material actually was. The Wetterkurzschlüssel, the Kurzsignalheft. Not random paperwork, but books used for weather reports and short operational signals. To most people, they were ordinary codebooks. To experienced cryptanalysts, they were something else, a beginning. Exactly the kind of crib Hut 8 had been searching for. The missing foothold mathematics alone could not provide. The atmosphere inside Hut 8 changed at once. Pages spread across tables. Bombs were rescheduled. Intercepted messages were compared against the recovered signal forms. Silence turned into controlled urgency. No cheering, no celebration, not yet. Because if this worked, It would do more than solve a puzzle. It could reopen the Atlantic. Then, the first breakthrough came. A weather signal began to make sense. Then, another. Patterns emerged where there had only been noise. For 10 months, Shark had been a locked door. Now it was opening. Not because a machine had become smarter, not because someone had found a miracle equation, but because 2 sailors had carried the missing pieces out of a sinking submarine before the Mediterranean swallowed them. Within days, every available resource was turned toward exploiting the captured material. And far out at sea, German U-boat commanders kept transmitting with complete confidence, never imagining someone was listening again. The first decoded message did not sink a U-boat. It did not fire a gun. It did not save anyone instantly. It did something more dangerous. It gave Britain the ability to see again. By December 1942, Hut 8 was reading shark traffic for the first time in 10 months. Intercepts rushed to the Admiralty's Operational Intelligence Center in London. Maps changed by the hour. Wolfpack positions were updated. Routes were redrawn. Orders went out. Not with speeches. Not with celebration. Just a quiet instruction to a convoy commander: alter course. He was not told why. He did not need to know. He simply turned his ships a few degrees into the empty ocean. Hundreds of miles away, a German U-boat commander waited where the convoy should have been. His calculations were sound. The timing was exact. Torpedoes were ready. Periscopes scanned the horizon. Hours passed. Nothing. No smoke. No escorts. No merchant ships. Only sea. The convoy was gone not because it had outrun him, but because it had never arrived. That pattern began repeating across the Atlantic. Again and again. German commanders blamed the weather. Bad reconnaissance. Bad luck. They never imagined the truth. Their own signals were betraying them. Inside the Admiralty, decoded intelligence became one of the war's most closely guarded secrets. Convoys slipped around waiting wolf packs. Escort groups were sent where submarines were gathering. Destroyers arrived prepared instead of surprised. The ocean had not changed. Only those who understood it. There was no single battle where Germany suddenly lost the Atlantic. The balance shifted one convoy at a time. One ambush avoided. One merchant ship reached Britain instead of the bottom. One tanker is delivering fuel. One cargo ship carrying aircraft parts. One troop ship arrived safely. Thousands of sailors never knew they survived. Because someone, somewhere, had read a message never meant for Allied eyes. Post-war studies concluded that intelligence from Breaking Shark helped save vast amounts of Allied shipping in late 1942 and early 1943. But statistics only tell part of the story. The rest is human. A father comes home. An engineer lives to meet his daughter. A convoy reaches Britain with food, fuel, and ammunition. By the spring of 1943, the Battle of the Atlantic had reached its turning point. The hunters were becoming the hunted. And the German crews still did not know why. Every convoy that quietly changed course traced back, in part, to 2 men who vanished into a sinking submarine carrying nothing but paper. By the time the Battle of the Atlantic turned in the Allies' favor, Tony Fasson and Colin Grazier had been dead for months. They never knew the documents they recovered helped restore Britain's ability to read German U-boat traffic. They never saw the convoys that made it home. They never learned their final mission had become one of the most important intelligence recoveries of the war. Because history moves on even when its heroes cannot. Tommy Brown was the only member of the boarding party to return. At 16, the canteen assistant who had lied about his age became one of the youngest recipients of the George Medal. Fasson and Grazier were each awarded the George Cross posthumously, but the medals told only part of the story. The citations could not say why these men truly mattered. They described courage aboard an enemy submarine. They did not mention Ultra. They did not mention Enigma. They did not mention the captured codebooks. To protect the intelligence advantage, Britain kept the real significance of the mission secret, even from the families of the dead. Years passed. Then decades. Only in the 1970s, when the ultra-secret was finally lifted, did the full story begin to emerge. Historians pieced together that October night, the flooding submarine, the soaked codebooks, the race against the sea, the cryptographers waiting at Bletchley Park. The convoys are quietly changing course across the Atlantic. What had once looked like a desperate boarding action now appeared for what it was, one of the most consequential intelligence recoveries of the Second World War. Tommy Brown never sought recognition. In 1945, at just 19, he died after running into a burning house to save his younger sister. It was a tragically familiar end. Once again, he risked his life so someone else might live. Today, memorials honor Tony Fasson, Colin Grazier, and Tommy Brown. But memorials cannot tell us what happened in those final moments below deck. Only silence can. At the beginning of this story, two ordinary sailors climbed into a sinking U-boat, carrying nothing but courage. History would reveal they carried something far heavier than paper: the chance to reopen the Atlantic, the chance for convoys to reach Britain, the chance for thousands to come home. On a cold October night in 1942, the world did not change when U-559 sank. It changed because two men climbed inside her first.